Namaskaram. In the previous discussions, we discussed a little bit about how to handle the compulsions. Now, let's try to understand the mechanics of compulsions in my understanding. Again, a little bit of disclaimer here. You should not treat this discussion as the replacement for any sadhana or spiritual instructions. This is just sharing of my understanding and my experience so that it might be helpful for the seekers. So most of the people, might have already known from Sadhguru's discourses and books that everything is actually cyclical. The physical nature is cyclical, and everything goes through a certain kind of cycle. For example, like a day becomes night, and night becomes day, and so on. And similar to that one, like there are a lot of cycles. For example, like the Earth goes through cycle, the seasons, the moon cycles, and so on. So similar to that one, our physicality, the body also goes through the cycle. For example, we wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, wake up, sleep, and so on. So similar to this one, these are not the big issue because this is naturally going on from the childhood and everything. But like there are certain kind of cycles that has been created in our unawareness. Because of that, like we actually feel entangled and tied up, and then we want to become free out of that. For example, some of them might be the intoxicants or drug abuse or something like that. It might feel good initially, but after a while, like you develop this certain kind of dependency. This is kind of like a physicality kind of stuff. And similar to that one, people eat a lot of food with what we refer as a junk food, which has got this addictive tendencies. For example, like white sugar and salt and cheese and all that kind of fast food and everything, and you slowly gather up a lot of weight in the body, which becomes difficult. And even though you know that like it's not helping you, you are unable to stop it. These are the physical kind of some of the physical kind of compulsions. Similar to that one, there can be like other kind of compulsions, like a psychological compulsions. For example, you fell in love with someone, you got attracted, or you were in a relationship, and then after a while it didn't work out. Now you want to forget them or forget about whatever has happened, uh, or you want to get back to them, restart the relationship or something, but it doesn't work. Now it's you are in a deep problem. Like you want to be with them, it is not going to happen. You don't want to be with them, you want to forget them, it's also not going to happen. So people actually get into this kind of compulsive cycles and everything. So these are the two types of compulsive kind of cycles we are discussing about. But like there are like other kind of cycles also, which Sadhguru has mentioned about the karmic cycles and everything, which will not discuss that one, that realm and everything here. Like I will try to look more tangible ones, which is accessible to like a majority of us, the physical dimension of the compulsions, and then the psychological compulsions or the emotional kind of compulsions and everything. So why it does not work, let me clarify a little bit initially before we start. So what is going to happen is like everyone, when we're born and born, uh, because of the uh, change in temperature when we are born, like if the temperature is outside is different or something, we start to cry and everything, like as a response that we need protection, we are vulnerable at that time. So as we go ahead, because of the thirst, hunger, and like pain and everything, uh, we slowly develop this sense that we are the body. And as we move ahead, the society or parents, we they gave us the name. Like the name is very very important for us to like distinguish from the other children. So they'll give this name to a body, that is basically the label. We're not the name, but that's how they call us, like every time we do certain kind of good thing, they reward us using our own name. And when we do something wrong in their perception, like they punish us. And that is where we associate ourselves with, okay, the name is me. And then we start developing this kind of identification based on this prize and punishment, reward and punishment kind of stuff. And that's how we start identifying ourselves with the name and people around us. So this is actually the social the mechanism to for ourselves to slowly identifying ourselves with the body and mind. But as you know that as you have, if you have developed a little bit of awareness and everything in life at the moment, if you see, I would say nearly 100% of the people are actually either running towards something or someone, or they are running away from something or someone. And this was actually the case for me many years ago, before I started doing meditation, even when I started my own seeking before I came to Isha. So these are the things. So if you ask anyone, they have got only these two issues: either they are running away from something or someone, or they are trying to run towards somewhere or something. And when the funny thing here is, this is the circus of attachment and detachment. People say that, okay, things does not work, so we need to detach. This is very similar to it. It is completely compulsion and everything. But now what we need to understand is, uh, when we are talking about this thing that everything is going on your way, let's say I'll give you a very simple example in terms of, let's say, a drug, or I'll just use a two terms here. One is a drug that is going to be physical compulsion, and the another one is relationship, let's say. So if everything is going well, you are enjoying it, the relationship, or the drug and everything, uh, drug abuse or something like that, you will not feel that you are doing anything wrong. You don't really care about it is a good or bad or something like that. You don't even think about something known as the attachment or detachment at that moment. But the moment let's say uh, your health is deteriorating because of the drug, or the relationship is not going the way you want it or something like that, now what you want to do is, you want to withdraw from the drug. Now you don't want to use the drug, but now the body has started dependencies on that one. Because of that reason, it wants that thing. And because of that reason, you have now developed this reward and punishment cycle associated with that one. And this is what is referred as a neuroplasticity in science. So neuroplasticity basically means it is said that your brain, the neurons in your brain are not actually fixed, they are not rigid. You can actually mold them based on your habits and different kind of activities you do. For example, if you repeat certain kind of process for a long time, the brain will be hardwired, and that actually makes you more efficient in doing that activity. For example, you have been walking initially, when you're a child, it becomes a little bit difficult for you to walk, but as you walk every day continuously, now you have got this hardwired the connection, which actually helps you to automate. And then when you're walking, you don't actually need to think when to lift your leg, or where should I put or something. It actually happens more intuitively, very quickly. But as you have this a drug abuse or something like that, you have developed this kind of the hardwired connection in your brain. Because of that reason, even if you want to let go of that, since that connection is very strong, it's very difficult for you to break it. And that is where the sadhanas, or you might have to do certain kind of rehab program or something, where this connection becomes a little bit loosened, and then slowly you can actually change it. That's why it's a neuroplasticity, because you can actually mold it uh, through different kind of processes and the different kind of actions that you want to take. So similar to that one, if we look from the relationship point of view, uh, let's say like you fell in love with someone, and then like everything is going well, you are in cloud nine, you are the most happiest person in the world, and you might think say to your friends that like yeah, I'm the most luckiest person, she's the most beautiful, or like he's the most handsome person like I've ever met. But if you ask like some of your friends or something, they might think, are you crazy or something like that, like so I'm not judging anyone, but like this is how the process goes on. And this is what like a Sadhguru talks as says as like a hijacked by hormone. So it's not you, but the hormone is actually making something appear uh, more funny to you. And then once that happens, like as things are going according to you, like the way you want it, you never question anything about like attachment or detachment. But let's say like if something goes wrong, what is going to happen now? There are two ways. You can either like try to convince the other person, or you literally want to forget. But what is going to happen is, uh, I think like anybody like who has actually experienced relationships and everything, they might have seen like even they have not experienced. Everybody I must have seen in the movies or something like that. People go through different kind of depressive states, painful like anxiety and all that kind of stuff. And at that moment of the time, like people think like attachment, detachment, and they think that okay, like love is bad, like a relationship is bad, like you should stay single and everything. But after a while, people go back to the square one, and then like they meet the another person, and then they restart the same process again. Eventually, coming to the realization that like okay, that's not it, and then like maybe like the cycle will repeat itself, or like they compromise on that stuff or something. So I'm not saying that like the all relationships are like that. Like relationship completely depends upon like a person's capability and like a maturity also. And if it is growing organically, like there's not issue. But here, like we're talking of the compulsions. Now, you might say that okay, like you came to the realization, I should not use drug, I should not fall in love or something like that. Let's say you don't want to start a relationship. Now you said you decided, I'm not going to think about her, or like I'm not going to use that drug or something. But after a certain period, like maybe when you're unaware, like you start doing the drug immediately, even if before you are starting to like thinking about her, or like trying to avoid that, feeling bad about yourself, guilty feelings and everything. Why this actually happens is because the decision is actually made with your mind and intellect, what Sadhguru refers as the buddhi. So the intellect actually works with the limited information. And not only that, the one of the thing is like the intellect is actually a survival process, and survival process basically means it works in a duality. There's like two aspects of it, like it cannot exist as one. So because of that reason, if you feeling happy, you need to be sad before that one. Without you being sad already, you cannot experience happiness. And like if you want to experience sadness, you need to be happy beforehand. And that's how like it's actually a relative experience. And because of that reason, when you say like attachment and detachment, let's say like let's use these two words. Attachment and detachment basically does not actually mean different to the mind. The mind only knows, uses both as same. Like I'll give you a simple example. I gave you the example of the trying to run towards someone, or trying to run away from someone. So what actually happens is like let's say you want to be with someone, or a drug, or whatever it is, the object of your compulsion, or mobile phone these days, let's say. You want to use the mobile phone, so basically that means you are running towards the mobile phone, a person of the attractive person, or the drug. Okay, that is alcohol, or like a cigarette, it can be anything. And similar to that one, like let's say like you don't want it, I want to drop it. So basically that basically means you want to run away from that object, you want to run away from drug, you want to run away from that person, and you want to ignore that basically. But the mind does not know that like you are running away from something, or running towards something. uh, because the main thing is like when you are doing that, like although you might think that like you are going towards someone, or away from something, the distance or attachment and detachment actually works only for in physicality. For example, like you can get separated from a person, you can get separated from an object or something, but in the psychological mind, because mind is just the mind stuff, it's just the memories. So because of that reason, like when you say that, okay, uh, I want to attach, that basically means you are running towards the object, and when you are saying I want to detach, you are trying to run away from the object. But the problem here is like whether you are psychologically trying to attach or detach, the center of object, the object, the center object remains the same. So basically, like you are actually running around the object. Maybe like if you are attached, then like the circle is smaller, and if you are running away, then the circle is going to be larger. Now the problem is, if you are running towards that one and you become frustrated or something, you are completely aware that like it is going happening to you now, like you will completely fine, and then you want to seek liberation. But the problem is, if you try to run away, the detachment is actually more dangerous, because you are trying to resist, you are trying to suppress your impulses, your energies and everything. And what is going to happen is, as you make a larger circle, you run away larger circle, like you are going to be get tricked by your own mind, that you think that you have gone away. But what is going to happen is, since the circle is too large, you are not actually know that like you are running in circles. So because of that reason, like you will get trapped into the same cycle again, and then that is where like you run away from one person and you meet the another person. So because of that reason, like the cycle repeats by itself. I'm not saying like meeting the another person is a bad, in a bad way, but I'm just like giving an example on like this compulsive action. So in compulsive action, like there is there is no such thing as like attachment or detachment in terms of psychological aspect, because like we discussed already, that this is actually there is actually the physical basis to that one, like I discussed earlier, as which is known as the like a neuroplasticity. So for example, like you have spent so much time with some person repeatedly and everything, you know lot of thing about them and everything, if you have shared emotions and uh, probably like your bodies also. So in that case, what is going to happen is like the uh, neurons has been like so much connected, the hardwired, so that this circuit is actually like working as like the automated system, so that like even though you are not thinking, it is going to happen by itself automatically. And the only way to go beyond this is, if you don't have a spiritual process or something, one of the thing is, you know you accept things as they are. For example, like we think that, okay, certain kind of relationships are bad, like we have been taught by the society, and because of that reason, like we develop this kind of uh, like this is the thing, like we should not do this or something like that. Because of that reason, like we have developed certain kind of prejudice against life, because as a whole, life is like a utility and everything. It's a unity and one, it's one. You cannot divide, and you cannot say that like this is bad, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad and everything. It's all like a learning process and everything. So one of the thing is like if you are got addicted with like a drug or something, the one thing like to get out of it is like there are two ways to do it, in my understanding. One way is the like a jnana yoga basically means like a perception. You understand the the you develop the clarity on the compulsion. Okay, so there are certain kind of compulsions, like you can eliminate some of the compulsions, you cannot eliminate because they are the natural function. For example, like sleeping, eating, resting, and like reproduction process, and all this kind of, and self-preservation. These are all like the automated process. They are like necessary for the survival of the body. But like having a drug, alcohol, and all this kind of stuff, cigarettes and everything, these are like you can eliminate completely, and this can be done by uh, you know having a clarity. You accept that like you are stuck. This is the first thing. If you want to fight, you are going to lose, you cannot win, because like you are using the mind itself to control your mind, which is completely impossible. This is like tricking yourself. You ask the question and then you answer yourself. And like I said, like the mind does not actually know that something as going forward or ahead or something. Only the awareness can help this on this one. And this is where we need to understand that in physicality everything has its own possibilities and its own limitations. So when we see the clarity that okay, this is damaging my life or something like that, now what you need to keep in understand is is it worth it? Is it worth it to do that? And then you find a better alternative than that one, which was occupying your time. And I've seen many people who have came to the Isha Yoga Center after a lot of drug abuse or something. They have overcome because they have experienced something more profound than the limitation of that one. So I don't want to go more deeper into this one. Let's continue on. And then one way is understanding that one, but this is a longer process, and this is what in most of the rehab places they do. But one of the 100% foolproof way of overcoming the compulsions and everything is just like I mentioned earlier, is to go beyond the dualities of mind. Because what we refer as a attachment and detachment, these are all a creation of the mind. So once you go to once you do certain kind of spiritual practices, and you reach to certain kind of profound experience where you do not see the difference between you and the other person. And in that kind of situation, the compulsion does not actually exist. And one of the reason people get into the compulsive behavior and everything is because their experience of life is very limited and they are not fulfilled. So to fulfill that, they take certain kind of measure, for example cigarettes or alcohol or something like that. But once they get into that one, it becomes very difficult for them to come out. Just like I told you, the example of neuroplasticity and the reward system, which is developed, so that it is very difficult to break out without proper determination and everything. And so when you are in the a spiritual state or something like that, now uh, if you experience the other person as yourself, then there's no a question of the attachment and detachment. And when there is attachment, no attachment or detachment, uh, you don't actually care about compulsive behavior. Because compulsive behavior means what, you are either trying to go towards someone, or trying to run away from someone, or trying to go towards something, or trying to run away from something. And this can only happen, there's a word there's a magazine that is published by digital magazine published by Isha. It's called Forest Flower. So if you understand what the forest flower is, forest flower is a type of flower which blooms in the remote forest where there is no people to appreciate its beauty, but it still blooms. And after sadhana, and then different kind of spiritual practices, you come to this realization that all of your experience is your own making. So in that case, you are naturally through intelligence, you are obviously going to generate just like Sadhguru says that the chemicals that is going to bring well-being to you. You can talk about love, joy, bliss, ecstasy, and different kind of spiritual experiences and everything. And when you have that kind of experiences within, coming from within yourself, not only experiencing but overflowing, and in that case uh, it's not about it no longer becomes you are seeking certain kind of joy or happiness from somebody else. Because as long as you are trying to extract something from somebody else, it's going to be a compulsive process. Because how much you try, nobody can actually fulfill you, because the main objective of life is just fulfillment only. So because of that purpose, once you are overflowing, now you are not trying to extract, but you understand that the another person is also going through similar kind of situation. So you'll naturally try to understand, and then try to help them. And this is the mechanics of the compulsion. And the compulsion is not only deep rooted one in psychological way, but I mentioned that you can google about the neuroplasticity also. So there is a the hardwired system over there, and that's where the spiritual practices are like set to at least like 40 to 48 days, as which is known as a mandala, so that like you are actually going to loosen up certain kind of compulsions and everything through the different kind of practices. And so like once you have certain kind of glimpse and everything, like it's not difficult for you to reach to like 1008, or like you can do this like your entire life. And at that time, like even if like I said, like there will be certain kind of compulsions still there, which are necessary for your survival, for example like eating food, sleep, and so on. So other compulsions, like you can either like completely remove it, or just like don't let it impact your life, so that like you can slowly, gradually like develop yourself towards the higher possibility. I think this actually like summarizes, and hopefully it makes you understand.